How do you set boundaries with someone you worry about? So when I hear this, when you worry about somebody else, that we have to understand that there are multiple different levels and multiple different types of boundaries, right? You have a physical boundary. I have boundaries that I need to know that, I need to know who can touch me, when they can touch me, where they can touch me, not just on my physical body, but where, right? Do I like PDA? Do I only want to do it in the bedroom? Things like that, right? Hugging, physical boundaries, right? So then you also have mental boundaries. There's certain people that I will never engage in arguments with. People see this online. I'm not going to get into like certain arguments that people have because I don't want people on two different sides to start arguing, but we've all seen those type of arguments where you're just sitting there from the sideline saying like, you're not going to convince the other person to side with you on this subject, right? And then what happens? They go to their friends and family. Can you believe what they said, right? And it sticks with you mentally for days, weeks, sometimes months at a time because of some argument that someone is just in their stance and you're in their stance. So you have to have mental boundaries. You need material and financial boundaries, right? That's kind of one and the same. That like, how much money would I be willing to loan someone? How am I going to protect my home, protect my assets, that sort of thing, right? But when I hear this, how do you set boundaries with someone you worry about? That sounds like you have poor emotional boundaries. When we have poor emotional boundaries, we tend to blur the lines, right? Where that their emotions now become my emotions. I tell people I work with that you need to be a thermostat, not a thermometer. When they're up, you're up. When you're down, right? You're a thermometer with them, right? That these blurred lines, these blurred boundaries, all of a sudden, you're so concerned with them, you think that their happiness, that your happiness is attached to theirs, right? And so you're consistently worried about them. Right? We can be worried about someone. We worry about our children. We worry about we have concerns for other people, but we also need to understand that our feelings and who we are as people emotionally are completely separate from the other person. Right? So when we're talking about someone that we're worried about, I'm just going to use this as an example for let's say that the person that you're talking about is struggling with an addiction, right? That is their responsibility to take care of. Right, so we have to begin to separate not only our emotions, but that's one of the very basic foundations of boundaries. Who is responsible for what? Right? They're responsible for their happiness. They're responsible for their struggles. So what do? You separate your feelings, you separate your emotions, and if this is someone that you love and that you care for, you can be a support, but their problems are not your problems. Their emotions, their feelings are not yours. Two completely separate things, right? So you still set boundaries with them, right? You still, you're still very direct. You still state your lines. You're still very, but you can be concerned for them. You can worry about them if you are. You can actually tell them that you have some concerns, things like that. If you are spiritual, you can pray for them. But you have to allow for that person to take ownership for the things that they have going on in their life, the things that you might be worried about. And what ends up happening is when you set these boundaries and you allow for that person to deal with it, to deal with their own issues, they actually become a stronger person and a stronger individual through that process. And so do you.